Agriculture Veterans Broadband Rural Development for Monday, March 10th, 2025 is now in order and a quorum is present. Folks, we got lots of fun biofuel stuff to talk about today. We will hear first from Senator Rest, then we'll hear from Senator Dahms, and then we're going to have a kind of group project with Senator Kupec and Senator Dornink sharing a little bit about two bills that are very similar in nature. And then we'll hear from Senator Westrom at the end of the day to talk a little bit about a definition of sustainable aviation fuel. That's what we're doing today. So first order of business, Senator Rest, if you would please, to your bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members. What Senate File 1359 does is to clarify the eligibility criteria. It's a very technical change just to make sure everyone is on the same page. There's just a one-word addition, inserting the word advanced at line 1.112. Otherwise, the bill is just a reflection of current law, and there is a fiscal note that, as I understand it, shows no impact to the program. So it's making sure that we understand these biofuels as something called advanced biofuels, and it is defined elsewhere as a renewable fuel other than ethanol derived from cornstarch, etc. And the background of this bill is, again, that it's a technical correction that fixes a drafting error that was made when the program was modified 3 years ago now in 2022. So, Mr. Chairman, that is the bill. There is a representative here from the Biofuels organization ready to testify if you would be so kind.
Thank you very much, Senator Rest. Mr. Warner and Ms. Herr, if you would both please come to the table and take a seat. Mr. Warner, if you would please start us off, give your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready, please.
Chair Putnam and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Brian Werner and I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Biofuels Association. We support Senate File 1359, which would make a simple one-word technical correction to the statute for the Minnesota Department of Agriculture's Bioincentive Program. Thank you, Senator Rest, for bringing this bill forward. First, I want to start by defining advanced biofuel. It's a renewable fuel with at least 50% lower greenhouse gas emissions on a life cycle basis than petroleum. Many Minnesota Biofuels Association members have made the necessary investments to begin producing corn kernel fiber ethanol by using special yeasts and enzymes during fermentation that generate ethanol from the fiber in the kernel of corn rather than the sugars and starch. This type of biofuel reduces greenhouse gas emissions by 70% compared to petroleum and therefore qualifies as an advanced biofuel. Importantly, because of its low carbon intensity, advanced biofuels qualify as feedstocks for sustainable aviation fuel. When this program was established, the production cap of 23,750 MMBTUs of advanced biofuels, that cap was put into place to ensure that only new production of advanced biofuel would qualify for incentive payments. So why do we need this fix? Well, several ethanol plants in Minnesota have applied to participate in the program, but because of a drafting error in the amendment adopted in 2023, have been denied by the department because the word advanced was accidentally removed from the definition of biofuel in the statute. This created a situation where applications from previously eligible plants are now being denied because the production cap is being interpreted to apply to overall biofuel production rather than advanced biofuel production. This is a simple bill. It adds the word advanced back into the statute, restores the original intent of the program, and allows for a level playing field among advanced biofuel producers in Minnesota. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. Ms. Herr, if you would please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready, please.
Yes, my name is Chandra Herr, and I am a Senior Policy Associate for Clean Energy Economy Minnesota. I want to thank Chair Putnam and committee members for the opportunity to testify today, and Senator Rust for bringing it forward in committee. SEAM is an industry-led, nonpartisan, nonprofit organization representing the business voice of clean energy in Minnesota. Our 70-plus member companies employ tens of thousands statewide and are dedicated to decarbonizing Minnesota's economy. I'm here today to express our support for Senate File 1359, authored by Senator Rust. The proposed language makes a technical correction to the statute for the bioincentive program and ensures that facilities producing advanced biofuels after 2015 are eligible for performance-based payments through the program. Since its establishment in 2015, the bioincentive program has helped private sector companies and facilities enhance the use of local biomass resources, drive economic growth, and create good-paying jobs across greater Minnesota. By simply adding the word advanced back into the statute, this change will support the continued growth of commercial-scale production of advanced biofuels, renewable chemicals, and biomass thermal energy. Minnesota is a forefront leader of the bioeconomy industry, and we urge your support for Senate File 1359 to ensure the state remains competitive and retains jobs in the biofuel industry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Herr. Now, my own predilection would be for us to have a couple-hour conversation on the nature of the word advanced. But since I'm not sure that's in everyone's best interest, members, do you have questions and comments? Senator Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Because you mentioned the word advanced, I wonder who's going to be in charge of watching to make sure that advanced makes it through the final goal line rather than being taken out in the conference committee.
But, Senator Anderson, are you asking whether or not we're going to put this into our bill and make sure that it stays
No. I
in?
know we're putting it in the bill. I just want to make sure that someone's watching to make sure it doesn't get taken out of the bill.
Oh, I see what you're saying, Senator Anderson. Now, that's something that we talk about at a later date, but this seems like it shouldn't be that big of a deal.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry, Senator Rust.
Senator Anderson, I'll be watching.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Senator Rust, I think that was absolutely the right answer, and that's done. Members, any other questions or comments to Senator Rust or her testifiers? Seeing none, Senator Rust, do you have a last statement you'd like to make?
No, thank you.
Thanks very much. Senate File 1359 will be laid over for possible inclusion. Next order of business is Senate File 621. Senator Dahms, if you could, please. And Mr. Carbo, if you would here, please, if you would come up and sit with Senator Dahms. Senator Dahms, to your bill when you are ready, please.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and members, and today I have Senate File 621 for your recognition and hopefully included in your omnibus bill. Senate File 621 is a file that deals with the with the gasoline standards, and this bill changes the standards to meet the most current standards of Minnesota fuel for the national research standard requirements or recommendations. And this deals with fuel for spark ignition engine fuels, and it deals with gasoline, it deals with ethanol, and also the blended gasoline and ethanol. And it changes the sections of the law that they'll be involved in. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll turn it over to the testifier if you're ready.
Thank you very much, Senator Dahms. Mr. Carbo, if you please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Mike Carbo, and I'm the Midwest Region Director for the American Petroleum Institute. API represents all segments of America's oil and natural gas, which supports more than 11 million U.S. jobs. Our nearly 600 members produce, process, and distribute the majority of the nation's energy. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today in support of Senate File 621. API was formed in 1919 as a standard-setting organization and is a global leader in convening subject matter experts across segments to establish, maintain, and distribute consensus standards for the oil and gas industry. In its first 100 years, API has developed more than 800 standards to enhance operational safety, environmental protection, and sustainability across the industry, especially through these standards being adopted globally. API and its members work closely with ASTM International, formerly the American Society of Testing Materials, commonly abbreviated as ASTM, to develop standards that are consistent, uniform, and of high quality, help products meet high levels of performance and safety, define the specific manufacturing process of a material, and determine the exact chemical composition of a material. In December 2023, ASTM approved changes to the gasoline specification D4814, which is a standard specification of the automotive spark ignition engine fuel, and they were published in April of 2024 and modified again in July. Most states adopt the latest version either through a direct adoption of the latest version of the standard or through the adoption of the NIST Handbook 130 automatically. But 18 states reference older versions and either need to adopt it via rule or legislatively. And that includes Minnesota, along with neighboring states of Iowa, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. South Dakota and Iowa have already completed their rulemaking, and Wisconsin's is ongoing, but they have a waiver to operate under the new standard until the rulemaking is completed. ASTM revised the gasoline specification and included changes to volatility of the fuel in many states, as well as changes to the evaporated distillation temperature requirements for gasoline ethanol blended fuels. Changes to these volatility tables have not happened in several decades, and the temperature data supporting the original requirements was from the 1950s to the 1970s. The recently adopted changes are based on temperature data from across the country from 1996 until 2015. Additionally, the specification includes revisions to the evaporated distillation temperature requirements for winter fuels, and this is purely a technical requirement that allow more efficient refinery operations, slightly higher gasoline volume, and less risk of refinery noncompliance without affecting the consumer's overall vehicle performance. There is no known opposition to the update in Minnesota, the region, or the nation. We thank Senator Dahms for his leadership on this issue, which ensures consistent and uniform standards for the marketplace. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and I stand for any questions.
Thank you very much for your testimony, Mr. Carbo. Members, do we have questions or comments for either Senator Dahms or his testifier? Seeing none, Senator Dahms, do you have any closing statement you'd like to make?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, for consideration of Senate File 621.
All right, so folks, Senate File 621 will be laid over for possible inclusion. Members, our next order of business is a combination of bills, Senate File 881 from Senator Kupec and Senate File 1507. Both of them they're deeply, deeply similar, so we thought we'd talk about them together, but Senator Kupec is not with us right now. If he gets back, he'll join Senator Dornink up there in the front to help present the bills. We also have Mr. Syverson and Mr. Werner. Is Richard on? So Senator Dornink, if you could, to the bill, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm going to start with Senate File 1507, which is the appropriation for the biofuel infrastructure grants. So it has $4.5 million for 2026 and $4.5 million for 2027. Appropriated from the general fund to the Commissioner of Agriculture for grants to enable retail petroleum dispensers, fuel storage tanks, and other equipment to dispense biofuels to the public in accordance with biofuel replacement goals established in Minnesota statute. So that's the bill. I do have a amendment, the A1 amendment, Mr. Chair.
Senator Dornink moves the A1 amendment. To your amendment, please, Senator Dornink.
So it's simply on page 1, line 12, delete 15 and put 20. So it'll be 20 instead of the 15.
Members, thank you, Senator Dornink. Members, do we have any discussion or comments on Senator Dornick's A1 amendment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? So the amendment is passed. Senator Dornink, to your underlying bill, Senate File 1507 as amended.
So the amendment, I was just going to talk about the amendment just a little bit. So it doesn't, it brings this bill to the match of the governor's bill, budget proposal, and the companion bill in the other body. And the change does nothing to the program other than expanding the applicant pool, meaning more businesses will be eligible to this, for this program. So if I could have a testifier, Mr. Chair, that'd be great.
Certainly, Senator Dornink. Let's start with Mr. Werner, since he's here in person. Mr. Werner, if you would, please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Chair Putnam and members of the committee, again, my name is Brian Werner. I'm the Executive Director of the Minnesota Biofuels Association. On behalf of our 10 ethanol producer members, I'd like to thank Senator Dornink as well as co-authors on his bill for bringing this forward. We support the bill as amended. because it will continue investing in the Minnesota Department of Agriculture's successful biofuel infrastructure grant program and open eligibility to a larger pool of small retailers. E15 is a fuel blend containing 15% ethanol that is commonly marketed as unleaded 88 due to its higher octane rating. The benefit of E15 is that it costs less at the pump, reduces our reliance on fossil fuels, lowers greenhouse gas emissions, and supports farmers and our economy. Over the past 3 years, this program has provided 60 grants totaling $9.5 million, with recipients contributing another $11.6 million in matching funds. As a result, Minnesota has seen rising E15 sales and retail availability since E15 was approved as a fuel by the federal EPA in 2011. There's a chart in your packets that displays annual sales data since 2013. It shows that for 4 years running, annual statewide E15 sales have surpassed the previous year's baseline, and 2024 was another record-setting year with over 142 million gallons sold, an 11% increase from 2023. We've gone from 26 retailers in 2013 to 512 today, which is roughly 25% of the 2,000 stations statewide. According to the Minnesota Department of Commerce, E15 had an average price discount of 17 cents per gallon in 2024 and saved Minnesota consumers $25 million at the pump last year. Now is a great time to double down on the program and continue our progress. A 2021 lawsuit by several oil companies created annual regulatory uncertainty about whether retail locations could offer E15 during the summer driving season. However, the federal EPA recently announced its plans to move forward with the implementation of year-round E15 in Minnesota and 7 other Midwestern states starting on April 28th of this year. And as we see more and more uncertainty about federal trade policy, continuing investment in state programs that provide value-added market access to farmers and renewable fuel producers will be especially critical. We strongly support this bill because it will continue Minnesota's biofuel leadership, drive additional E15 sales, lower emissions, save consumers money at the pump, increase our energy security, and provide robust markets for farmers and rural communities. Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Thank you, Mr. Warner. I apologize for the feedback that's happening through the microphone, if that disrupted you or irritated you in any other way. I also do want to point out, members, that the screens apparently are not working especially well. So all the interesting data that Mr. Warner just shared for you is in your packets now, in case you want to see a graphic version of it for your later thoughts. Thank you, Mr. Warner. Now, Mr. Syverson, are you there?
I am.
Excellent. Great to see you. If you could, please state your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Chair Putnam and members of the committee, my name is Richard Severson. I farm together with my wife, Vicki, and my son, Paul, and his wife, Josie, on a farm in western Minnesota near Clontarf. We raise corn, soybeans, and currently we're in the throes of lambing our sheep flock, getting ready to produce lambs for market. On behalf of MCGA's nearly 7,000 family farm members, I want to thank Senators Kupec and Dornink for bringing forward SF 881 and 1507 forward, as well as the list of bipartisan co-authors. A key priority for Minnesota's corn growers is to expand access and use of higher ethanol blends like unleaded 88, which is a fuel containing 15% ethanol that helps to improve air quality and reduce carbon emissions while giving drivers a higher octane fuel at a lower price. A 56-pound bushel of corn not only produces 3 gallons of ethanol from the starch of the kernel, but also a high-value, protein-rich dried distiller's grain for livestock feed of about 15 pounds and about a pound of pure corn oil, which can be used for biodiesel or renewable diesel. Co-product utilization at Minnesota's 19 ethanol plants has resulted in greater efficiency, and as a result, today's corn ethanol reduces greenhouse gas emissions by 46% on average compared to gasoline. Not only does blending ethanol with gasoline result in lower carbon emissions, but also causes reductions in particulate matter, carbon monoxide, and nitrogen oxides, which can create smog. The carbon emission reduction profile of today's corn ethanol has been verified by the U.S. Department of Energy, the Department of Agriculture, the California Air Resources Board, and academic institutions ranging from the University of Illinois to Harvard, MIT, and UC Davis. Ethanol was first blended in our fuel supply to help fight air pollution and smog, and a key reason why Minnesota started using ethanol blends in the metropolitan area in 1992. Ethanol is a key ingredient in our fuel supply that not only acts as an octane booster, but also displaces harmful aromatic hydrocarbons. One of the key challenges in moving to a 15% blend of ethanol statewide is updating the sometimes costly equipment at retail locations. The Biofuels Infrastructure Grant Program alleviates some of that cost and has proven to be a popular program with fuel retailers. The ethanol industry is not only crucial to corn farmers' economic vitality, but higher blends of ethanol in fuel provides multiple benefits to Minnesota consumers, communities, and the economy. Unleaded 88 and other mid-level blends provide a cheaper option while also providing higher octane engine performance and increased air quality without sacrificing efficiency. In 2024, unleaded 88 saved consumers an average of 17 cents a gallon. Minnesota recently surpassed 500 stations offering unleaded 88 with record sales of over 140 million gallons sold. But with over 2,000 fuel stations in Minnesota, there's still room to grow. Now, if you do the math on that average fuel savings and those total gallons, unleaded 88 saved Minnesota consumers about $25 million last year. We thank you for supporting this program and for giving me the opportunity to testify on 881 and 1507, and for Senators Kupec and Dornink for bringing these two bills forward. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Severson. It's nice to see you again, even if it's only on a screen. Members, do we have questions for either Mr. Severson or Mr. Werner, or for the author, Senator Dornink? Seeing none, Senator Dornink, do you have any final statement?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank the testifiers for testifying in favor of this bill, and the co-authors, Westrom, Kupec, Dahms, and Weber. And then, Mr. Chair, I didn't know if you want me to talk a little bit about 881 and the difference, or do you want to do this one first, or how do you want to proceed?
Thank you, Senator Dornink. I was hoping Senator Kupec would be here, but since he's not, actually, this might be a good time for you to do that, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So Senate File 881 is Senator Kupec's bill with Westrom, Gustafson, Dornink, myself, and Putnam. And this is basically the same appropriation biofuel assistance. The differences are that this one doesn't have the appropriation amount in. It has 10 of the retail petroleum dispensers sites instead of the 20 that we amended. And then there's one line on 1.14 that a grant award must not exceed 65% of the cost of the appropriate technology. That is the three differences on this bill to the one that Senate File 1507.
Senator Dornink, I appreciate you bringing those to our attention and giving another opportunity for members to discuss, given those changes and your awareness of them now. Do you have any questions or comments about the interrelation between the two bills? Or about that sound? Seeing none, you all set, Senator Dornink?
I am. Thank you, Mr.
Awesome,
Chair.
folks. So Senate File 1507 as amended will be laid over for possible inclusion. Thank you, Senator Dornink.
Thank you.
And Senate File 881 will also be laid over for possible inclusion. Next up, Senator Westrom, Senate File 1515, definition of sustainable aviation fuel modification. Here's the other chair over here. Perfect. Talk about trust. It's right there. I could have just pulled that out from
I got trust in you. Mr. Chair.
Senator Westrom, 2, Senate File 1515, when you are ready.
Well, Mr. Chair, I think this can be a pretty quick one. It's a fairly short bill. Senate File 1515 just modifies the allowance of capturing CO2 for use of sustainable aviation fuel. Currently, it's got to be made from biomass, and if we can capture CO2 and make sustainable aviation fuel, this would allow that process to be made as well. So as we're trying to improve sustainable aviation fuel opportunities in Minnesota, if we can capture CO2 and it can be made from that as well, that's what I understand this bill would help do. With that, Mr. Chair, happy to take any questions, or if there's testifiers.
Thank you, Senator Westrom. We have Angeli Baines. If you could, please, Ms. Baines, have a seat. State your full name for the record and commence your testimony when you're ready.
Thank you, Committee Chair and members. My name is Anjali Baines, and I lead the transportation team at Fresh Energy. Fresh Energy is a more than 30-year-old nonpartisan, nonprofit advocacy organization that works to advance policies that will help our state achieve an equitable, carbon-neutral economy by 2050. I am speaking today in support of Senate File 1515, which clarifies the definition of sustainable aviation fuel to ensure all eligible methods to make SAF can access state incentives. Fresh Energy supports SAF development and production that not only provides an economic boon to our business and agricultural sectors, but also invests in the lowest carbon fuels while improving water quality and providing other environmental benefits. A key part of this approach is making sure any supportive SAF legislation includes green electrolytic hydrogen, which Senate File 1515 does. Green electrolytic hydrogen, which is created by using renewable electricity to split water, can be combined with captured carbon dioxide to create a liquid hydrocarbon fuel with much lower life cycle greenhouse gas emissions than conventional jet fuel. This way of making sustainable aviation fuel can use carbon dioxide captured from biomass processes and direct air capture, which are both included in Senate File 1515, as well as carbon dioxide captured from point source industrial processes such as steel or cement production, which is not currently included in the proposed legislation. Fresh Energy is committed to collaborating with lawmakers and stakeholders as this bill moves forward, and we therefore ask that Subdivision 1, Subpart G-II, is amended to include point source emissions or simplified to just gaseous carbon oxides if possible. Building a SAF industry in Minnesota offers a sweeping opportunity to lower emissions, promote equitable economic growth, and lead the nation in a transition to a decarbonized economy. For these reasons, Fresh Energy supports expanding and clarifying the definition of SAF to make sure all viable pathways for making it are supported in Minnesota. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Ms. Baines. I do have two questions, I think one for the author and one perhaps for you, Ms. Baines. Senator Westrom, can you, I'm uncertain about this one, so this is more of a curiosity than a critical question, and that's the interaction between this change in the language about feedstock and the language that is in other bills pertaining to sustainable aviation fuel that are currently moving through the Senate. Is this the same language as perhaps is in the tax bill? Does it also expand feedstock in the same way?
Good question, Mr. Chair. I cannot give you an exact answer on that. Maybe staff could help us. This bill was sent to me from the House with the idea of expanding sustainable aviation fuel, but I understand there is similar language in some other bills, but maybe Laura could give us a better answer to that, or we could find out later. I don't know the answer exactly.
Yeah, that was just a curiosity, Senator Westrom. Thanks for giving it a go. Ms. Painter, do you have an opinion?
Mr. Chair and members, I believe you're talking about Senate File 1312, which the Tax Committee heard relating to the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Tax Credit. That committee did change the same definition, the same subdivision in the statute, and their change only included gaseous carbon oxides. So if you look at Senate File 1515, line 1.19, if you delete everything after oxides, and also delete the new language on line 2.1 on the next page, that would match what's in the that tax bill.
Thank you, Ms. Painter. So I guess my second question is likely for Ms. Baines, and I apologize if this is not your area of expertise. But do you understand this stuff well enough to explain the difference between those two things?
Thank you, Chair. That particular definitional change, I am trying to figure out if green hydrogen could qualify in their language. And one of the reasons that green hydrogen is one input to create what's called power to liquid sustainable aviation fuel, the other input being carbon dioxide. So it's possible that the definition change in Senate File 1312 could accommodate our ask. I just need to check with a few more experts to ensure that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Baines. Members, do you have questions for the author or the testifier or comments about the bill? Senator Kunish.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Westland. I'm looking at the bill, and I see there's no, where's my note? There's no effective date. Is there an effective date you had in mind for this bill?
Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, I think the default would be August 1st if we don't specify otherwise, but July or August either would be fine, and the idea of going in the omnibus bill probably would. But I think August 1st is the default effective date, if there's none, but Laura, Senate Council could probably confirm that.
Senator Kunish.
Mr. Chair and member, do we usually put an effective date on this, or is it just that it's automatically assumed for the default date?
Ms. Painter, is that something you can have an opinion on?
Mr. Chair and Senator Kunish, ordinarily, our bills would have a default effective date for policy bills of August 1st. Since this is modifying a tax credit, you probably want to insert an effective date that matches the tax year.
Okay, great. I have another question.
Senator Kunish.
If I may. This bill looks like it could have an impact on state revenues. Do you have an idea of what that impact might be?
Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, Senator Kunish, I do not offhand.
Okay.
I'm not aware of us receiving a fiscal note yet either. Ms. Painter, I'm going to phone a friend again.
Yeah.
Or Eric, do you have any other updated information?
Mr. Olofsson.
Mr. Chair, Senator Westrom, a fiscal note has been completed showing no impact.
Okay.
Since this isn't the tax committee, I can't request a revenue estimate, but there's no administrative fiscal impact for this legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Olofsson.
Thanks.
Senator Kunish.
And just one more question. I know that the tax credit that it stacks on top of the federal IIJA, IRA tax credits, that gives Minnesota's somewhat of a competitive advantage. Do you have any idea, or can it be assumed that Congress will extend those credits and continue this current advantage to our state? Do you think Congress will be able to, that we won't be losing the support or the dollars? I guess it's just unclear if Trump or Congress will reform those tax credits or repeal the IRA. So have you heard anything? Do you know anything about that? Do you have any assurance?
Mr.
Senator
Chair, Senator Kunish, I don't have any more assurance than we have any other year. I mean, those are always kind of set for a time, and it's never certain with those. So I don't know anything more than you or anybody else right now.
Okay.
Senator Kunish.
Nope, I'm done. Thank you.
Members, any other questions or comments for the bill or testify? Seeing none, Senate File 1515 will be laid over for possible inclusion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members.
Folks, that's the end of our business for the day.
Jeez. Oops.
No. Although, Senator Kupec, now that I have the idea, Next time it will be a joke, but this time we genuinely were remarkably efficient today. That was not our plan, to be quite so efficient. I guess that's rarely the plan of government. Senator Kupec?
Mr. Chair, and I will let Senator Dornink then obviously carry all of my bills and just go ahead. We talk about tomorrow for my schedules, and you can help me out. Thank you.
I think, Senator Kupec, part of that is that everyone lives in such deep fear of Senator Dornink that things just fly right by. Folks, so what's coming up next? On Wednesday, we will hear a lot of bills, but testimony and presentations will be brief. So we will hear from Senator Seeberger, Senate File 2217 on the State Horticultural Society, Senate File 1831 from Senator Kupec, County Agricultural Inspector Grants Appropriation, Senate File 2147, again from Senator Kupec, Livestock Investment Grant Program Awards Modification, Senate File 1770 from Senator Kupec, Northern Crops Institute Grants Appropriation, Senate File 305 from Senator Lang, Meat, Poultry, Egg, and Milk Processing Facilities Appropriation, Senate File 1805 from Senator Dahms, Minnesota Livestock Breeders Association Grants Appropriation, Senate File 2137, Senator Johnson, Minnesota Turf Seed Council Grants Appropriations. Members, all of those presentations will be limited to 10 minutes. So that we can talk about them. They're things of which the committee is familiar and which we expect not to inspire tremendous controversial ideas or discussion. We also have a presentation from the University of Minnesota on precision ag and the farm project. So that's what's going to happen on Wednesday of this week. There being no further order of business, Senator Westrom.
Mr. Chair, just, is one of those the subcommittee, vet subcommittee bill?
That is likely to be there Wednesday as well.
Okay,
Mr.
that's as
Westrom.
well. And Mr. Chair, any update on, I haven't heard that there was any modification or amended language worked out between parties yet. Do you have any newer information on that?
Yes, Senator Westrom, I was going to talk to you about that after this session was over. There has been tremendous movement. We actually are in a really good space for a compromise.
Okay.
It has not been put into language yet, but we are on the cusp of taking care of this well enough to get it to judiciary safely. I think that the one remaining issue or concern that people might have would be judiciary specific. So my hope is that we can be very efficient with that bill on Wednesday and pass it to judiciary where it belongs. But I will say again, we had a very long and productive meeting on Friday. Everyone's voice was heard, and both sides are prepared to compromise.
Okay. Very good. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Certainly. So there being no further order business in front of the committee, we are adjourned.